asked about Deutsche Bank subpoena, Sanders puts reporter in his place with two brutal words. A shocking exchange went down inside the White House press briefing room recently, but you won't be hearing about it from the liberal media anytime soon. As it turns out, a reporter had asked about special counsel Robert Mueller subpoenaing Deutsche Bank for President Donald Trump's personal finance records, and that's about the time White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders put him in his place with just two brutal words. The left has been celebrating recent news about the so-called Russian collusion investigation into President Trump after hearing what just happened. Mueller reportedly sent a subpoena over to Deutsche Bank in order to look at the president's financial records. Specifically, the report released by Bloomberg explained, Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller zeroed in on President Donald Trump's business dealings with Deutsche Bank AG as his investigation into alleged Russian meddling in U.S. elections widens. It continued, Mueller issued a subpoena to Germany's largest lender several weeks ago, forcing the bank to submit documents on its relationship with Trump and his family, according to a person briefed on the matter, who asked not to be identified because the action has not been announced. Of course, it wasn't long before liberals were celebrating what they hoped Mueller was about to find and, of course, Trump's impending impeachment, which they've been saying has been coming for a year now. Too bad for them, it looks like they may not want to hold their breath. In fact, things got a bit more clear during a press conference with White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. At the time, a reporter asked White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, if Robert Mueller ends up looking into the president's finances, or if he has already looked into the president's finances, does this White House believe that is a red line, and if so, why? Too bad for him, it looks like all the liberal idiots celebrating the news got just one thing wrong. However, Sanders would clear up the confusion and put the reporter in his place with just two brutal words, completely false. That's right, the media fell for and pushed fake news, again. Look, I think it's important to note, and hopefully, you guys have seen this statement that Jay Sekulow, a member of the president's legal team, has put out within the last hour. Sanders began, as reported by Edge Review. She dropped a truth bomb on the press, adding, that they confirmed that the news reports that the special counsel had subpoenaed financial records relating to the president are completely false. No subpoena has been issued or received, we've confirmed this with the bank and other sources. It's since been determined that the report actually originated with a publication called Handelsblatt. In their original article, the title simply read, Mueller's Trump-Russia investigation engulfs Deutsche, in which they exclusively reported about the subpoena, but there's just one problem. As it turns out, it looks like the liberal media yet again took off running without knowing all the facts. As explained in a follow-up article, Handelsblatt states, we stand by our story, which never said Mr. Trump's own records were requested. While reading the original article, though, it's hard to see how that is the case. Sure, they may not have said those exact words, but several other statements in the piece suggest that the subpoenas were focused on Trump. Take their second line, for example, which reads, U.S. investigators are demanding that it provide information on dealings linked to the Trumps. To most people, this meant one thing, namely, Mueller subpoenaed the bank for Trump's records. Of course, this was disproven after leftist news outlets, like Bloomberg, ran the news after chomping down hook, line, and sinker. Now, it comes as no shock that the left gladly spread more fake news, but now, those responsible are trying to shirk responsibility. At this point, you'd have to be foolish to think that anything is going to come of this investigation. It's been a year, it's time for the pathetic losers of the world to give up their desperate witch hunt. And, it's time for the liberal media to start doing their due diligence to determine whether a story is true before running with it just because it fits their agenda.